We're live, boys. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing great.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, good. Well, tonight we obviously have +1. This is my cousin
Ooh.
Cole, also our #1 fan. Sorry, ladies.
Did you go live from the right?
I got it.
Yeah.
You have a whole other thing where 4 people are waiting on here.
Is that not
Nothing,
where we're at?
I mean,
I got people in
There's
the chat
3
already.
people in this one.
Yeah, I already got people in the chat on this one. so-
crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, another great start to our podcast as always.
When have we
gentlemen.
ever had a good start?
Well, you guys are the vacuum that sucks the wind out of my sails.
That's like the
So-
opposite of that song. Like, you are the wind beneath my wings. You
You're
suck
the,
the
wind,
wind
you're the
out
wind
of
of
my sails.
you're the wind above my wings. just
You
pushing
forced me to
down.
crash.
But we have a guest on tonight. His name's Cole, and
Look at
he's
this.
here to offer an
I'm not
additional
even in frame.
perspective. Well, that was strategic.
I know it was. I saw you look at me.
I
when
purposely
you
moved
pushed
your
the-
chair down. I said, "This guy
I'm gonna get
doesn't
real-
even
real
deserve-"
friendly with you,
There you
all
go.
We should
Good.
let Cole introduce
Absolutely.
himself.
Introduce yourself. Talk to us. Tell us what games you like to play, what media you like to consume. Because I think this will be an interesting conversation tonight. Because I think you bring sort of a different perspective into what games you like than what we traditionally play. Because I know I'm different from these guys, and I know you're different from everyone here. So
Hello, I'm Cole.
Hi, Cole.
Hello.
Bald guy's cousin, his #1 cousin, by the way. I won't point that out. I play a lot of different games. Actually, I play a lot of simulators. That's kind of what I'm known for.
Like
supposedly.
farming simulator,
Yes.
truck simulator.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
That's about it. I don't go any further than I don't touch forklift or bus simulator. That's
Goat Simulator, no.
no, I never touched that one. That was one that never caught my interest. I watched that on YouTube, but never played it. Never played it. Didn't care about it.
That's Billy's equivalent of having played it. If you watched a video of it
Stream
or
of
a
it.
live
That's
stream of it.
exactly
I can
how
give a
am,
review.
yes.
I watched somebody stream it. I can
Yeah.
totally review it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. But yeah,
What's
Welcome.
up, Austin? Good to see you in the chat. Yeah.
Boys. That's what that's what
I thought you were
imagine
saying
it's-
that to.
I was
Billy.
vocalizing chat.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you play simulator games, so truck and farming, and did you ever play Sims? Like any of the basic Sims, or
no, I tried to play one of them. Trying to take out your audio system here. Yeah, I know. I played The Sims a little bit. Me and a couple guys that I played games with, we tried playing it for a little bit. They got more into it than I did. I like the house building aspect of it, but after that, I didn't really care about it, and I couldn't spend thousands of hours just building a house. That just wasn't anything that interested me.
so I don't think you guys have never really played a simulator game before, right?
I like Sims.
I played
Sims.
simulator games,
Yeah.
but Sims, I've never really.
what type of
liked.
simulator game? have you played?
Well, I used to play a lot of city building games when I was young. So Sim City, but also there's this
Skylines
game
or
called
whatever.
Mythology. That was kind of cool. There's one, but stuff like that where you kind of build a city and an economy and stuff, and Roller Coaster Tycoon, things like that.
What's the Sid Meier's something revolution? Civilization.
Civilization, yeah.
I like that one.
I played Civ 5. That was probably the last one I played. Have they released since then?
I don't think so. I think Civ 5's the last one.
I think there's a 6.
There
I
is.
think
Oh,
there
you think-
is.
Really?
I want to say so.
Have you? Do you guys ever play Anno? 18 or 16, 1863 or some shit like that. It's also like a sim thing. So we've never played we've only memed on Farming Simulator mainly because we know you're listening. So talk to us about what the gameplay's like why you enjoy the mindset that you get into while playing it. Do you play it late at night to kind of calm down, or is it you have a community of guys that you play with? Why are you drawn to that kind of game?
I am drawn to the game because I'm in a farming community. That's what I've grown up around. That's what I want to be. In the end, I might be oh yeah, I want to do this, but it's farming's just what's around me. That's just everything I see and do is farming.
So you farmed,
Yes.
you farmed, and then you
Yes,
farmed.
Yes, and I play with people who farm IRL and then come back and just play a virtual.
See, when
farming game.
Billy says, "Oh, I'm farming," that's a totally different concept for
Right,
his version of
right.
gaming than for yours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what would you say attracts you? Is it just the ability to like be more experimentative
Experimental.
in the farming? Like
Not just making up words here.
It's
yeah,
it's also just
experimentative.
a lot easier to farm in a video game than it is IRL. Like, you know, I can do stuff that. Yeah, it's like, I can just.
If everything
spawn-
goes wrong, your whole livelihood is
Right.
destroyed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like I know I can like do terrible in this game and still be able to, you know, survive. You know, I'm not like, oh well, I have to file for bankruptcy now. Like, I can just be like, oh, my farm went to shit. I can go just restart or cheat in money or something like that. You know.
So, like, what's the gameplay like?
I mean, it's slow. Like, well, you can have different gameplay. Like, it depends on what you're wanting to do. Like we, like I have a full like server that like we play on, and like we're realistic. Like we're doing everything. You know, like we got one like we set up like realistic like bank loans. So like you gotta take it out. You have interest. You have to have equity. You have to have like throw something up there to like you have to like sacrifice something. Like if you can't pay it back, you have to give up.
Like, what's your
like,
collateral?
Yeah, like you have to have this. So it adds a lot more depth into it, and it's a lot more fun to do it that way than just to play it. Like to play it's fun, but like when you get more realism, like the more realistic you can get while still being able to just screw around, a lot more fun.
That sounds stressful as fuck. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't
Yeah.
know if I really would enjoy that.
So it's like you create a character on a server and then you kind of go from there, and or is it like, do you start with like a bucket of assets, or do you have to like build up to all of those things?
Got to
And we have
build
a
up
question-
fake credit to get a loan.
Yeah, right. Like you got to build a credit score, so you got to
Yeah,
go
like-
work at the local, retail store.
Is someone like RPing as like the bank? And they do a whole like
and then
loan
we have-
application and signing. And
We have a
I can
question,
do that.
We have a question from the chat as well. Are there bosses in Farming Simulator?
No, there's no bosses. I mean, there's people who like run their own farm because you can have your own farms.
boss like the Dust Bowl?
No. Yeah, the Dust Bowl.
gotta
Congratulations.
prepare.
Everyone in the map is screwed now. You can't farm. No.
season.
no rain for the next 10
Right.
years.
Yeah. No, there's nothing like that. No, that's all. Yeah, you can pretty much have a successful farming year.
That's
all the time.
wild.
Yeah, so like we all sat down and like discussed like how much we want to start with, because like nothing's like set IRL prices. Like it's a video game, so stuff's a little bit more, markets are different than IRL just to make it easier on you, because like you can get too like realistic where you're like, oh well, like you can't do.
I
anything
can't
in the game.
afford it.
Yeah, I can't. I literally can't afford anything. It's like that's not really fun. No one's like, oh man, I can't wait to get on the game and not be able to afford anything. It's like that. That's not what draws people to the video game.
This is so realistic.
Yeah, we're simulating. Yeah, I'm
It's
living
like
on
that.
the streets.
Have you seen that Key and Peele meme where like he's talking about how robbing the bank, and then he goes into like detail how they're gonna rob the bank, and then like they get hired at the bank, and then he's like, and then 30, 40 years later, we just walk right out of there, and then he goes, "Motherfucker, that's called a job." That's what this is reminding
That's
me of right
exactly
now.
what that is. Yes. Yeah.
Are you like one of those people that has your play area set up like an actual like rig?
No, I'm
Like
not,
the trucking
no,
simulator?
that's- I do have like a wheel and pedal and all that for like those because that makes the game a lot more fun to play. But like the Germans are like really big in the simulator games. Like they're like huge. Like they're spending like thousands of dollars.
I always
like,
see those streams of like people and they have like their house or their streaming area. It looks like a truck and they're playing
Yeah.
Euro Truck Simulator
Yeah.
and they're just like,
yeah, there's people who get really into it, and like there's people who like caterize.
Do you
like that,
live
like-
stream this?
No.
You
I-
should.
you should.
I feel like there's a market for this.
There is.
Yeah.
There's a really big, like, especially during like COVID. Like that's when like a lot of people start picking up the game,
Yeah.
playing it. But
Is there like skills that you can learn from playing? Like, let's say if you were a young guy and you were like you only knew maybe one aspect of farming, is it like could you get into the game and is it real enough to where you could pick up on at least some of the language, like some of the words used in that industry, to where like it would maybe help you get a job later on? You just talk the talk at least and kind of know what
Would
what
it
goes
allow you
into-
to fake it?
Yeah,
Can
like
you put it
do
on
you
your
get
resume?
Close enough. Like I played 1,000 hours of farming. I am a soil scientist.
no, I mean yes and no. I mean it's not like you might be able to bullshit your way through it. Like if you played enough of it, like you could probably get somewhere. But like I don't think the game is realistic enough to be like, oh yeah, well I can just go out in this field. Yeah. You're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I know how to run a farm because
So you
the
can
economy in the game is a lot different.
fake your way through an interview, and then day one you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
'Cause,
so what do I do?
Yeah, because like it doesn't show you like running equipment. I mean, it's like WASD. E-click.
Right.
You know, it's like there's a couple other. No, surprisingly, no.
There's a little laptop or a little keyboard that comes out, and then you control it.
Exactly. But yeah, no, it's like you can get your way through there. Like, there's a lot of like animal stuff that you can. Like, you learn a lot about that. You know, you can be like, all right, this, going through the process of like making feed and stuff like that. And there's people who make mods. Like, mods are like heavy into the game. Like, PC playing is a lot better than like consoles and all that because of the modding community. Like, the modding community is what makes that game everything that it is, like, worth it.
So that I was literally going to lead into that next topic of like mods, because you were talking about the economy, and is there mods where it like will match spot prices of like goods in the real economy? Because like I feel like that would be kind of really cool, where you can do like here's the soybean base price, and if you're farming that, then like it's going to trend up and down, and maybe even people can use that to like simulate their own like crops and what yields they're going to get, and like what they're doing in real life. So there's mods like that.
Yeah. So like you can taking me out was just like Jesus. Yeah, I know, right? That's perfect.
Honestly, yeah, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, so there's a lot of mods. Like the base game already has that. Like you can sell at like really bad. Like you can see your price fluctuations, so you can track like if what month in the game, because before there was just a mod for seasons, so you could actually like you had to plant in spring, you had to you do all your preparation for the crops in summer, and then in fall you harvested, and then spring or winter time was kind of an off year that if you're doing cattle you could still like
one day for one day, so like all winter you're actually farming.
No, so they got their own time like system and all that, so you can like fast forward through time. Like if you're not doing cattle or anything like that, you can just like if you don't have anything that's going to be going on through the winter time, you can just fast forward through that. So if you're not about
Just sit there.
yeah, just sit there, fast forward. Like yeah, so if you want to play the game,
Shoveling your driveway.
yeah, it's like so if you just want to play the game, just harvesting, planting, all that stuff, you can.
I hate the snow so much.
Yeah, I hate the snow. Yeah, you don't have to deal with any of that if you don't want to, which is what makes it kind of enjoyable, because everyone has a different play style. Like there's so many different play styles. Like there's people who play the game like so like really arcadey. Like there's people who are like running stuff that just doesn't exist in real life because they're like that's how we want to play the game. But then there's people like my group that we just play like we try to get as realistic as we can with still leaving some leeway of like, all right, it's a video game. You're really gonna bore yourself out if you're going like too realistic.
This business loan was approved at 6%.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
yeah. But it's like there's still stuff that we skim out on because it's like it's just not gonna be fun. Like no one's like I don't want to have to take a college course to figure how I'm gonna do this. It's like we have leeways of like, all right, we'll
You have
let
like an in-game notary.
Yeah, right.
Notarize
Yeah,
a
like-
loan doc.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, it's like there's a point where you're like, all right, this is too much. Like this is dumb, but try to keep it real, but also have fun with the game, because that's what we're just doing there. We're simulator games. Like I play that game to relax, like because you asked that. Like I play that game to relax. Like I'd come back like there's nothing stressful about it. Like it sounds stressful the way I'm making it sound, but it's like it's really not that stressful. Like yeah, it's like once you kind of figure it out, it's like if you played the game enough, you kind of know what you're doing. It's really not that bad. So you just get on there, you play, you just BS with your friends for a little bit, and then you go to bed.
So you're playing with the
Yeah,
community? Or?
yeah. So you can you rent out dedicated servers. So that's how all it works. And then I'm just playing with people I've just met, like 2 or 3 of the guys I play with, I just met through live streams.
And you can help farm their land?
Yeah,
too, or-
yeah. So because everyone can create their own farm, and if they're like, hey, you want to come over there, you just switch over farms. You just go into a menu, switch to their farm, and then you just go farming for their what they're.
Can you fuck it up too?
Oh yeah, yeah. I could totally just ruin everything. Like I could just get on one late night and just plant just the wrong crop through everything.
I'd have a hard time not being an anarchist if I was
Yeah.
playing a game like this. I would get kicked out of every server.
Yeah. Yeah, and they there's a big thing like people just go on to like public servers like that have like no passwords or mods or anything like that, and they'll just ruin like
Grief.
people's farms. Yeah, they'll just grief the just ever living shit out of this server, and they'll just leave. And like that's just what they have fun doing. It's like that's pointless, but
So do you?
To each their
Is
own.
it just farming simulator, or do you play like the truck or
I play the truck as well.
airplane simulator?
I would do airplane simulator if I had the money to just invest into like a full rig. Like that's one of those I couldn't just like half-ass play. Like I'd have to get dedicated. Yeah, I'd have to get like the flight stick, the throttle, like all that stuff. Like I couldn't just be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna play like on my controller or something like that. Like I'd have to dedicate a lot of money into a setup.
Because I have to admit, I've like the few Euro Truck Simulator ones I've watched. I want to try it. Like
Yeah, they're
if I
fun.
had the full setup, I'm like that kind of looks fun. It's
Even-
just driving a car.
Even keyboard, it's keyboard or controller, it's still fun. Like I put thousands of miles into like a Euro Truck Simulator on keyboard. Same as American Truck Simulator. That's what I played like the most. Like playing with keyboard, like that's just fun. Like,
Are you
just
able
throw-
to go across all of America?
No, so they are releasing them like states as DLC. So that's how they're doing it. Yeah. So it's like
California would be a very
yeah.
be
so-
like an expert level. Like,
yeah. So they started.
the western part of I-80.
Yeah. So they started on the West Coast because they knew that those are like the bigger states to like, just run through, and they're like big and empty. They didn't have to do as much. Now they're starting to like go back and revise like California. Like if you run through California, you can tell like it was old. Like that map, like the textures are just terrible. Like you can tell the difference between what they've just like recently done versus
right.
like the first stuff they done. But it's like I think Texas was like the most like expensive one. I think that was like $15 for like the state.
Oh.
But
Oh, that's not bad.
yeah, they're no more than like $11-12. So like it isn't until like East Coast they've already said they're just gonna bundle like because like no one's gonna pay $5 for Maine.
I only want New Jersey.
Yeah, because it's scaled to like 1 to 20. So it's like it doesn't take very long to get from town to town. So it's like you get into Maine, it's gonna be like one city, and that's it.
Yeah.
And maybe a road. It's like they're not.
I was watching this guy play, and I always look up like where we live just to see what what
Right.
that looks like in world. And he's driving, and then and he's like, "Yep, we're leaving here now." And he's like, we're coming up on San Francisco." And I was like, "Wait a minute, it hasn't been that long, has it?"
Yeah.
So 20 to 1 then, huh? Or 1 to 20.
Yeah, 1 to 20 scale. So it's like it kind of messes with stuff like AI traffic kind of sucks in the game. So it kind of like messes with like on ramps.
Well, it's not fun.
Yeah, like on ramps are like really short. Like they're not like long like they are in real life. So it's like you have to like merge. Like you have to like just cut off AI to like merge. There's like and they like don't like move over for you. So there's been
like real life.
yeah. So it's just like there's been so many times I've just been sitting there waiting for traffic to get out of my way. It's bad. And like there's what's crazy is like AI traffic's already bad, but there's like mods out there that like increase it by like 5 to like make it realistic. And it's like people have been like stuck in traffic for like hours.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's like that's not fun. Like that there's a point again, realism and fun. And that's not fun. It might be fun to somebody else, but it's like that's not fun to me. Like I don't go, man, I can't wait to be stuck in traffic and play for like 2 hours. Just sitting in traffic and then go to bed. Like I can't wait to do that. It's like that's not what I want to do.
Can't wait to drive home from work.
Yep.
To drive some more.
To drive some more and
Sounds
a
terrible.
bunch of traffic.
There's this guy that entered my algorithm. I don't remember his name, but his whole like shtick is he plays this truck simulator game, and he gets in accidents, and he like makes it
yeah.
look
Is
realistic.
it the guy that drink and then it goes?
And he like he'll like hit, and he'd be like, hold on now, and then he like throws himself all over, and like it's so funny. But then like I noticed like every video he uploads is that. I'm like, oh, this is the only thing this guy does, but it
yeah.
is pretty funny.
Yeah, for sure.
And then he'll like go off a cliff, and he always acts like there's like kids in the back or something, and he'll be like, I'm so sorry, as they're like
As
falling.
they're falling
Yeah.
off the cliff. Oh my god.
We gotta watch a couple of his videos after
he's
this.
literally
It's
got
funny.
one
I
angle
think
of content.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like before all that, he was like a skit artist on TikTok. And then he hard steered into that. Because I was subscribed to him on TikTok if it's the same guy. And like I used to watch his skits because they were funny. And then as soon as that happened, I don't see his skits anymore. And I just see like just his crashes on Truck Simulator.
He's
To
like,
be fair, he does
"That's
it
what's
good.
working."
Like
sells
he moves.
Is his sim rig like pretty good?
No, it's just him in a chair.
He's got the wheel.
He's got the wheel.
Is he a green screen or?
Like
Yeah.
he puts himself on, like on the screen of the game,
Okay.
and like, but it's always, and I've never actually watched a full stream of this guy. I've only ever seen those clips, but he's always like, he'll say something like, "Oh, we got a shortcut coming up here." Oh God, it's not a shortcut, and they're like falling, and they'll be like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry," and he literally like commits. He throws himself
Yeah,
all over,
he
and they just X dead. Like,
I watched this one stream and I thought it was a good idea too. Is he was drunk driving, so like it's the only way you can actually safely drink and drive is playing Euro Truck Simulator and drinking, and it was fun to watch because he kept drinking and he'd get more drunk and he'd get in
Was
an
his driving
accident.
worse? Yeah.
He was,
Yeah.
but it was, and
It's amazing.
it's like that's perfect stream content. Like that's hilarious.
Well, welcome to the podcast. So, yeah, good. I'm glad. We're happy to have you. So, we've got our mainline topic tonight is this Ubisoft exec that came out this week, talking about.
glad we all voted on this.
Yeah,
Did you want something different?
Yeah, I did
ahead.
actually. You guys wouldn't know how to talk about it, so. And actually, I don't make executive decisions.
What the fuck does that mean? As he derails this whole conversation.
All right, continue.
fine
Thanks,
if you
guys.
want.
This isn't a democracy. Just listen and listen what I say, okay? That's how we roll. Thanks, Kyle. I don't even know where to go now.
Oh, as if it's so hard to go back to what you were just saying.
You know, where was I?
I guess we can move on then
From
if
the-
you
yeah.
don't remember.
Exactly what you wanted.
That was the plan.
This Ubisoft exec came out today, or this week, I guess. He was talking about how there needs to be a market shift in gamers in terms of what they like to do, right? Which is they need to shift the market to getting people comfortable. What? You all right,
Keep
sir?
going. Yeah. I just imagine after you get your whole thing done, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
that's right.
I don't have any thoughts.
All right, you guys want to talk about something else, or
No,
you guys are horrible?
We're just being bad friends.
Yeah,
all right.
clearly.
trying to
going.
derail you.
Now I definitely don't remember where I was, but basically it was this idea where they're going to shift perspective to getting consumers okay with never owning their own game and kind of like streaming their content or having license or a subscription to basically a database to play other games. And we've talked about this in the past with like Steam is sort of functioning as this now. I mean, when you buy a Steam game, you don't actually technically own that game. That's one
Same
of those
thing if you
things.
buy anything on like PlayStation Store or Xbox
Mhm.
Marketplace. You
Yeah.
don't own digital games.
You don't own that copy, and I think this trend, I mean, this kind of made ripples and noise. But I mean, if you haven't been paying attention for the last 7-10 years, I think like this is already happening. This is sort of like old news. It's
Yeah.
just it was happening because you could see the reality of what was actually shifting. But now, I mean, people are high-ranking executives are now just coming out openly talking about it. So it's like it's here. It's been here. It really didn't surprise me, but the reaction online was sort of like this, "Oh my god!" But I mean, we're in this paradigm now.
I know we've at least talked about this outside of the podcast, but I feel like we've even talked about this like on the show before, of how like it's one of those things that you just become comfortable with, like how like you don't even realize it's happening. Like it slowly took over, and then at first we was pissed off about it, and then you get to a point of just like acceptance.
Yeah.
So like this whole thing, I think it's shitty that you don't ever really own a game anymore. But like you said, it's not a surprise. It's
And I
Go
mean,
ahead.
it's like, I doubt they'll ever make it to where it's too drastically different than what our current system is. Because if they try and shift it one way to where it's like after a couple years you have to buy the game again, people would be pissed, and like that wouldn't stand, So I think it might continue to evolve, but I don't think it'll get any worse than like it is now, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I mean it's here to stay. Like you guys said, it's here to stay. I mean we've been in this paradigm, we've been in this sort of marketplace. The thing is, it happened with like traditional media formats already, right? Like streaming services for like movies and TV shows. Like it's already happened there. When was the last time you guys bought a physical DVD? Like and owned
Pretty recent.
that DVD? Really?
This morning.
Oh, nice.
Sometimes
Non-pornographic though.
Then I don't know.
Years.
It's been so long.
I love to go to a physical store. And buy
Yeah, I still shop out.
Pretty recently, you bought one?
Yeah. I mean, I know there's more recent, but it's like Across the Spider-Verse. I bought that one.
Yeah,
Physical
Really?
CD. Interstellar.
but even that,
Those
so
are
like,
old. Like
Well, I mean, there's more recent, but I just can't think of them.
but even that though, like, if you were to take that disc and like put it in your computer to like save the files on your computer, it won't let you do that. It's like encrypted.
Because that's what did the commercial used to tell us? You wouldn't
Piracy
download a car.
is not a victimless crime.
Yeah, you wouldn't download
But you
a car.
bought the movie. You just don't own the right. You own the movie. You own the movie in that medium on disc. You don't own the
For
you
private
don't own,
viewing.
Yeah, or no, the disc. Like you can't transfer that medium to like another digital storage device.
You
You,
might
don't
be
own
able
the
to.
rights to do that. What?
You might be able to.
Well,
You have to do a
can,
lot
but
of
it's
work
not
to rip
legal.
it. Yeah. I remember because that I
You
used to,
might not be able to do that, but
I can. I used to use this program called Handbrake that would grab all the files, because what they would do is if you try to like download them, it would desync the movie. The audio wouldn't line up. The chapters would be out of order, and it was a hodgepodge. But Handbrake would kind of like rip it and put it in like a seamless track. It wasn't always perfect, but it worked.
What need did you have to do that?
I wanted to have DVD. Like if I'm flying, right? If I was going on a plane or something like that, and I want to have 4 or 5.
he had a massive underground like network of
I was
clients that he sold to.
Yeah. I was distributing Toy Story 2 at a rate that never seen before.
10 years after it came out.
No, like the perfect use case was I wanted to like I would have we would have like DVDs of like TV series, and I would want to put it on my laptop for like a flight or something, like for travel. And that was the first time that I had ever seen this. And this we're talking like back in 2011 when they started like encrypting these discs. And so you couldn't just like plug it into your DVD drive. Like you had to you had to have like you had to have the physical disc. How many times do you buy a video game and you still have to have the physical disc? You can't just, even though the whole thing is sitting on your PlayStation or whatever, you have to have that disc in there,
No.
Well, not. What do you mean no?
My
Well, I'm confused.
98% of my games are fully digital.
Right, but when you had games in the past that were on a disc,
Oh, yeah.
you do the
Yeah.
whole transfer onto your thing. You have to have the disc in there,
Yeah.
even though it's not even running off the disc because the disc read speeds are too slow. It's a whole thing exists on your PlayStation, but you have to have the physical copy of the disc.
That's been a thing since
forever.
the 7th generation, which was like PS3, Xbox 360. Before then, like PS2, Xbox, like games actually used to just be read off the disc. That's why you could just pop it in and play. And then I remember when, PS3 era came out, I'll get a game and I'm like, wait a minute, why'd I have to wait 5 hours to
Yeah.
play this? This is absurd.
I just bought it.
And we had terrible internet when it was like, I guess, okay for the time, but compared to what you get now, it was atrocious to be able to do anything.
Well, and that's why I was like never even convinced that the disc itself even contained the game, because you ended up downloading like this massive file.
Yeah.
And it was like, is there even hardly anything on the physical disc itself, or is it like a key to then download the game in their shop or whatever? I don't know. Super weird.
Yeah, I was confused too when you first said, like, if you buy a game digitally, you still have to put the disc in. I was like, I know that you haven't been a console boy in a while, but that
You have to go and find a physical
like-
CD and write the name of the game on
you
it.
still have to put a CD in
No.
No, and then
That
but-
awkward time between like like I would say like the PlayStation 4 days where you had that. Well, the PlayStation 4 actually had a pretty decent store. Like maybe it was the PS3 days where like their store I don't know, it's kind of clunky. It was
Yeah.
that awkward time where some things were digital, but not
It
everything.
was probably
digital.
towards the end of the 7th generation's shelf life where like you started to really just buy things digitally. I still remember the very first game I ever bought digitally was Mass Effect. I'm not even kidding, because the first Mass Effect didn't come out on PlayStation 3 originally. It was only on Xbox 360. And then so the only way that you could play Mass Effect at that time was when the second game came out. Then they finally released the first game on PS3, but digital only. And so I bought that, downloaded it, and I remember my mind was blown. I was like, what? I don't even need a disc for this? It's insane.
I own this
It's
game.
like 2009 or something. That game.
But then the funny thing is now, with the transition from disc to digital, like you buy collector's editions, like the Cyberpunk over there. I got a steel case without a CD.
Yeah. Collector's editions don't have the discs now.
And they didn't change the copy, the box for it because there's still a slot for
No,
it.
yeah,
right?
there's still a slot. Like as if I were to get one, it's like you can buy a second copy at the store and then you put the disc in here.
Yeah. What
Totally The Witcher 3. Like, just a blank copy. That is so weird. I have seen that a couple times, and it's the silliest thing. It's like, did they invest in a company that makes those like cases
Steel box.
or something, or like what is the
I don't
just
know.
the nostalgia of seeing that CD ring?
A lot of people that they like looking at what they own, and so they'll have like they're very meticulous about how they put their like lineup as far as like their disc
shelf.
holders on their shelf, how it looks a certain way. So there's a whole communities around like collectors that do that. Last time I bought a physical copy of anything was probably Dark Souls 3. I bought the collector's edition of that with the physical disc, which is where we got that Ashen Knight up there next to
Nice.
what's her name from
Lilith.
Diablo. Yeah.
So what
Oh, yeah.
game do you guys own the most copy of, or do you think you've bought the most copies of?
Oh God,
Guild Wars 1. Because I bought it for all my friends here recently.
that's true. I know for a fact we've been on. This was years ago when we talked about this on the podcast, but I've bought Witcher 3 an absurd amount of times. So I bought it. I bought the physical copy of Witcher 3. I bought it once and then I lost it. So I bought it again and I bought the physical copy again instead of buying it digitally. So that's 2 times. And then I bought it a third time. I bought it digitally because like if I ever lose this again, I want to have it digitally. So I bought it the third time. And then I bought it separately. For a reason I can't remember now. For some reason I bought it separately. I think it was like an account thing where I got locked out of my old PlayStation account
You're like, I need it.
and I wanted to play it really bad, so I bought it again. And then I bought it on the Switch. So I bought it and it was full price every single time. It wasn't the wisest decision money-wise, but I bought it a lot of times.
Have you bought any?
Not that I know of. I can't think off the top of my head of what I've bought the most copies of.
I think the
Like-
only. I mean, Mass Effect and the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Those are. I don't really count that, but I did buy Cyberpunk twice
Really? Why?
Yeah. because I couldn't wait for the collector's edition. Because the stupid thing about it, it was empty steel case, but the code, the download code was in the collector's edition box, and so I had to wait for that to get to my house, and I was like,
Oh my god.
I don't want to wait.
Seriously?
Yes.
And then you ended up waiting anyways for them to patch
Yeah.
it.
So, and then our chat said
Seriously?
Half-Life.
How did they bum that up?
That's how most collector's editions are, though.
Yeah.
You can't play at launch?
Not if you
No.
buy the physical.
stupid.
Like,
Oh, God of War, I did that too, because the same thing. I bought the collector's edition. The code is in the box, so it's being shipped to you, and I'm like, I don't want to wait for that.
Half-Life. I've only bought that once. But
I just that pisses me off.
It's
You're
stupid,
telling
right?
me that like you're sure they didn't send you that code
Yes.
like when you order it via email,
Yep.
secured link, you can't pre-populate it.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing.
You have to wait, and of course it gets there like post-launch.
Like 5 days later. Yeah.
Dude, that really irks me.
Yeah.
That actually irks me.
It's stupid.
I
I feel like this doesn't happen on P. I'm trying to think
Oh.
like
Oh.
no because
the
on
master
PC,
race.
I feel like I don't know because like when you get like you can preload your games on Steam, but that's obviously not a collector's edition. Like to buy the collector's edition, you have to go probably through like the publisher or whatever their website,
Yeah.
right? So you're not buying it through these. Can
Well,
you
sometimes
buy?
there are special
you-
editions through third parties. Like there's like, believe it or not, I forget which game it was I bought, but it was like if I bought it at Walmart, there was a special Walmart edition collectors, like that kind of thing.
Can you buy collector's editions from Steam? I know you can get like the upgraded version, but can you actually buy like if it came with like a collectible or something like that? Does that come with it?
No. So you like Far Cry? Well, I guess that Far Cry didn't come out till on Steam. Like the newest one didn't come out there. But no, like usually you can only buy like the premium, like their like standard or like the
Gold
platinum,
edition.
gold or yeah.
The play
Yeah.
5 days early edition.
Yeah, it's like you can't. You always. I think almost always have to go through like their actual like website. Like if I wanted like the Far Cry 6 like deluxe or like the collector's edition, yeah, I had to go through Ubisoft. Like,
Yeah.
there was no. I couldn't get that off Steam. Steam only offers, like I said, like the standard digital, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, you can't actually, which kind of sucks. It's been kind of nice.
PC average race.
yeah.
Have
That's
fun
the only thing
playing an unoptimized game. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Support. Everything's a port these days.
Support.
Man. Well, speaking of video games, what about
Is that
like,
what we've been talking about?
like I've seen some noise of Diablo's pushing this, and of course it's always going to be the big boys that do this, but they want to.
Diablo's a big boy?
Yes,
It's
behemoth.
I
Blizzard.
don't know. I haven't heard anything about it.
Okay.
It's not been on my radar.
Yeah, as we sit in front of Lilith and all this shit. They're toying with the idea of selling their expansion at $100. And there's this, yeah, it is warm in here. Thank you for doing
I'm
that. I know,
sweating
yeah,
over here.
Thank you. They've been toying with this idea of like $100 expansion. How long do you guys think? How close are we to getting games that are just standard out of the box $100? Because I know that like a lot of these games, they always sell like some kind of upgraded version that gets you to that $100. But like how long are we before we start seeing base games just starting at $99.99?
Well, they've already done with like PS5. It's like the average new game is 70
now, yeah.
is the starting price. So I think as inflation goes up,
I'd say, honestly, I could see it happening within like 5 years.
Yeah, I'd agree.
To $100.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
I feel like games. I was gonna shout, but like I feel like games have been like relatively cheap. Like they have not kept up with inflation for years.
yeah, they've stayed
60
60.
It was 60
pretty much my
for
whole life.
like
Seemingly.
almost 20 years.
Yeah,
it feels
and I like that was
Well-
kind of shocking in and of itself. So it's about time they moved up, but
But here's also the thing is I think there's also a possibility that the price won't increase if we keep going with like microtransactions and expansions and stuff.
That's
because
very true.
consoles themselves, most of them, I think all of them, they sell it to you at a loss.
the hardware.
The hardware.
Yeah.
So like why can't games might evolve into the same thing where they're selling it to you at a loss, but they make up for it with microtransactions.
Yeah, see, and like I know this is like what I want, but who gives a shit about what I actually want? But I feel like Elden Ring, I would actually feel 100% comfortable spending $120 on that game, because I know that there's not like an in-game. It's a complete game, right? Like there's no in-game transaction shop. Like it is what it is. There's no live service. There's going to be DLC like that comes out. It's just sort of that's the price for a game that's going to be live service. Where I'm kind of, because there's games that like always nowadays it goes beyond just cosmetics, right? There'll be quality of life things. There'll be things where it's like
Time skipper.
yeah, exactly. Something it's like you can spend 500 hours doing this, or for $3, you know. And so like for those games, I wouldn't necessarily, unless it was the title that I was super deeply passionate about, I wouldn't want to see that, you know, priced at the same thing. Like I don't feel like games should be all just like, oh, 70 is the standard, let's make it $70 or whatever it is. I feel like depending on what you're offering, like just like any other product in the world, if you have different features, like, hey, there's no in-game shop, okay, Baldur's Gate, I'll give you $100. There's no in-game shop, I'll buy it at that level. And then you've got games that like Diablo or any kind of live service games where it's like, okay, I'll spend $30 with the expectation of spending another $30 or whatever it is. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of crazy that we just pin one price and everybody just sort of releases at that level.
Well, but I feel
weird.
like that's kind of tied to, because if you look at like the movie market, right, and the movie has an average runtime, and video games, even though there is a variation of time for completion, you can definitely probably look at have an average of probably like 30 hours. It would be my guess. It might be even, I don't know what it would be, but like, so I almost want to say the $60 based on that 30 average, and then you would have to get some type of rating board to be able to be like, well, this game's actually a 120-hour game, so we can up it to $80. And because I don't think we could trust a development company to be like, trust me, this game's $120 worth. They would do that to all their games. Call of Duty would do that.
Well, like that's what I'm saying. Like that, they all seemingly just converge on this one price point. And you go to the store, you can find 12 different prices for 12 different types of toothpaste. All of them do basically the same thing but some of them have different features. This one's whitening. This one's extra fresh breath for longer or whatever. You know, like each of them have different features. So I feel like I think the gaming industry is mature enough at this point to have deviations in price based on what you're offering. You know, like the average consumer of a video game, I feel like at this point is you know what you're buying. Like it's not like it's a saturated market in the sense. Like you've got the people who new gamers coming online probably have parents who are gamers, and you know it's not like this kid in a basement that's never seen a TV before all of a sudden getting this, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a mature audience. I feel like they can really offer a wide spectrum of prices based on the product. It just seems so strange to me that they're like, oh, we can get away with 70 now. Everybody goes 70. Oh, we can get away with 100. We're teasing that because Blizzard will tease it. They'll release it at that, and then everybody will sort of follow suit. Why not strategically sort of play around with your offering? Maybe there's a reason.
I would say it's kind of tied to how we view movies, because movies are all the same price. I mean, you know, there's collector's editions and stuff, along with music too. Like,
It is strange that certain bits of media have standard
price.
accepted
Right.
prices.
Yeah, like imagine if you went to the store and Taylor Swift's new album was like 70, and then you looked over and somebody else's was like $10.
Yeah,
It's like that'd be weird.
it is odd. There's not. I mean, the entertainment. I guess this all gets lumped into the entertainment industry, but it's not like, you know, like you said, like you don't. Like all cars are not built the same. You don't buy all cars for the same price.
Yeah.
Games are not built the same. You can't tell me that you get the same amount of enjoyment out of, for instance, a game like Baldur's Gate and then a game that takes 5 hours to beat and it's the same price. You know, it's weird.
So it is definitely. I wonder if there's like a commission or committee that's like video game prices need to stay at 60. I don't know.
It probably comes down to the music industry. I bet you there's like a handful of publishing companies or like record companies that have all the reach. I bet you there's probably 3 or 4 big players that probably make up a massive chunk of that industry. and they probably do have these closed door conversations of like, well, you know, we have these titles with this brand recognition. We're, you know, whether we sell for 100 or we sell for 80, you know, some people won't buy it because it's 100, but it's going to basically be a wash. You know, our analytics say it's going to be a wash as long as it's a decent game or whatever. Like, I guarantee you they have all the models for this. So it'll just be interesting to, it's kind of interesting that it hasn't evolved more than it.
You know, what's funny is there's actually according to quick little Google research, there's nothing regulating this. It's just
they're just all converging.
All the publishers have just kind of has silent agreement on what works best.
Huh.
So Victory says, aren't Destiny DLCs more than $60? I could be wrong.
No, I don't think so. I never paid
Maybe
that.
More than 60. Like Lightfall was like 30 when it came out.
Maybe if you buy like the bundles,
where you like you buy
Where it's a
all
lot
of
of
them
the
in
older
one or
ones.
something. Yeah.
I don't think they're more than 60. Like I've played MMOs, and those when like those expansions or release, those ones cost like basically a full. They are basically a full game. Like if the game launched at, I think Guild Wars 2 when it came out, it was like $50 or $60 for their game, and it was like $50 or $60 for their expansions. And then of course you get 8,000 gems if you order their $100 version, which is 50% off, and you can use that for in-game gold and items. And like, wow,
Oh boy.
yeah. But it's also free to play, and then there's like this whole dynamic there, and yeah. I don't know, like it to me, it just, I feel like we have such a mature audience. There's so much information around games, right? Like whether it's like a reviewer or people talking about the game or content around the like pre-launch of the game, that people really know what they're buying. I feel like if companies really wanted to squeeze out even more revenue, I feel like they could really pinpoint and figure out like what better pricing.
I think that's what they're trying to do now with like PS5 $70 games. They're kind of like, well, let's see how much we can stretch it and people will still buy. And you know, they're testing it. That's, I mean, the whole video game, that's what they're always doing. They're always testing. Elder Scrolls, was it Oblivion with the horse armor?
Yeah.
That was the first.
That was the first microtransaction
Transaction.
that became like a controversy.
And everybody blames it.
Was it like $5? Something crazy?
Maybe.
I think it was. But
Yeah, but it was like more successful than like any other title that year. So like it made that alone made more money than like any other game that releasing, because everybody that owned that game basically bought it. Yeah.
and so you're constantly seeing them trying to push the envelope and seeing how far they can get, and then usually somebody takes a little bit too far and public outlashes, and then it comes back. But I think that's just what they're going to end up doing with video game prices too, is just kind of trying to push it and see what's acceptable for
Creep
the
it up.
masses.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name? I'm forgetting it. He used to be a developer for Blizzard. And then he like
Bobby Kotick?
No,
No.
that was the CEO. Bobby K.
and then he
didn't hear
he also
developer,
worked
so-
for the government for a while as a hacker, but he blew up recently. He's got like the long hair, deep voice.
Oh, Pirate Software streamer
something
guy?
like that. So he was talking about when he was working on WoW. He and his team spent an insane amount of hours developing. I forget what it was. It was like just like a quest path or something that they patched into it. He talked about all the manpower it took and all the the time it took to develop everything. And he's like, guess how much money it made? And he listed it, and it was something super minuscule by comparison.
Yes.
And then he's like, and then in comparison, here is this skin. He's like, it took all of maybe 24 hours to develop. Guess how much money this made? And it was like literally like something crazy, like 7,000% more than what the like how much that development was. And he's like, and you wonder why these companies are putting money into things like this and not quality.
What were you
I was
gonna
just
ask?
going to say, didn't you send that?
Oh, I
in-
might have.
in the Discord, because
Yeah.
I swear I think you sent that video for us.
That
to
guy
watch.
has some of the best takes ever, and like video game
His
culture and
shorts have
awareness.
blown up,
yeah.
You played World of Warcraft at all? You did? Yeah. How many hours do you think you got into it?
No more than like maybe 40.
Oh, okay.
Like yeah,
so
like
virgin.
I because my brother is like the only reason I played that game.
How many hours do you think your brother has?
Thousands,
20,000?
thousands. I mean, he's got to be pushing. Like yeah, he's been playing for a long time. So he's got at least 10,000 plus in it, and that's like taking like big breaks from that game too.
Well, I think the example you just laid out, that I think it's Pirate Software.
I think
it's
that
his
might be his
or
name.
Pirate Games or something like that. I wish he streamed at real hours. He streams at like 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's ridiculous. He does
Wow.
not stream in human hours. I think he's maybe EU or something. I don't know. But he sounds like an
Fucking not
American dude.
human.
But like that example is literally the horse armor example. It takes like a fraction. It's not content. They're not. It's just like a piece of art that they can then sell in and throw on a skin, and people chuck money at it. But then, like Kyle said, like a team of people working on something, it just doesn't have the same ROI. You know. But it's a balancing scale, right? You can't just have all cosmetics and it all pays out equally, because you need the content to then have the the value of a game like World of Warcraft is in its player base, right? If nobody played World of Warcraft, then nobody would want to get in. That's kind of a weird example, but obviously nobody would want to get into it. The fact that World of Warcraft is still is successful is because it is successful, right? The downfall to any MMO or any like online game is when the community starts to fall off. People go, "Oh, dead game," and then they leave and abandon it, and the numbers sort of crash. World of Warcraft sort of always had that like really stable, large player base, and that's the value of the player base. So you come out with a skin, and these skins are like not fucking cheap. Diablo 4, like some of those armor skins, like the Necromancer had a really sick one, like a death one, like a Death Knight kind of like a skeleton one. It was like $25 just for the skin, and that was like. That's just like, is that normal? Like, I would never buy that. I'm not the type of person. I'm not that market.
Well, and I
But
think
it's
that's
crazy.
just Blizzard misunderstanding, like, Fortnite, in my opinion. The reason Fortnite gets away with that, like, their skins is because the game's free. Diablo wasn't free.
No.
And so it's like, you can't charge $25 for a skin. Versus
how many
Fortnite,
people think how many people do you think bought it?
Oh, I'm sure that you.
Enough
Was
to where
it
they'll do
more
it
than-
again.
Was it more than what they paid the artist to draw it up or create it?
Probably. I
Way
mean,
more.
like, you know, any type of mobile game, like I play this Dragon Ball mobile game, I know for a fact it's supported by whales. Like, people like me who just give it a few dollars every now and then, they don't care about me. It's these rich people that like dump thousands into it. And that's same with Diablo. It's
By whales?
yeah, that's what they're called.
I've
Whales.
never.
You've never heard of the term whale?
No, I guess I'm not.
You go whaling, so it's like you get like your average player base. Let's say the value of each customer is like $1. Then you have whales that like they'll spend $10,000. That's the people you're trying to target in your games. And
Not me.
Yeah.
A whale.
And so like you want to do what so you create content that only serves the whales. You don't give a shit about the average player base. It's those 10, 20 people that are supporting the shit out of your game, like Diablo Immortal. You know, it's like a
Interesting.
handful of those people that have dumped. That one guy dumped over $100,000 into the game, and then the next season he was irrelevant. Like
It's like a trust fund baby that just has too much money
Nothing
to.
to do.
you get you get 5 or 6 of those in a player base of 1 million, whatever. It's not unreasonable to think about.
I'd like to
100,000 is,
imagine
but-
that. Obviously, I would now. I don't even have the capability of dumping that kind of money into something.
Yet.
I'd like to imagine
Yeah.
that if I was like, you know, worth a lot of money, like 300 million, that I wouldn't be like that. But I know for a fact that I'm the kind of person that I'd be like, and I would do that because that's how I am on a much smaller scale with games already, where I'm like, oh, this game's kind of fun. Oh, that's a cool skin. Click. Oh, that's kind of click. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what have I done?
Is Kyle a whale?
No,
just
he's a baby
No one
whale.
ever told him that term because they didn't want to.
They didn't want to offend
you.
me. Yeah.
Kyle's a narwhal.
If I had the money,
Baby whale, I love
Baby
it.
narwhal.
if I had the money, I'd be a whale.
Do you buy cosmetics in games? Farming
yeah,
simulator, like,
yeah. No. Yeah, I will. Like, if it's something like cool that I think looks cool, I will. But like, I'm not like just buying anything. Like, I don't just see like if I play it like when I was like Fortnite was a big thing. Like, I think I only bought one skin, and I was like, that looks cool. But I wasn't like all about like, oh, I have to have every week or month, whatever it was that they release a new one. Like, I didn't have to have it. Like, I could just get one and be like, all right, I'm pretty content with this, just because I didn't think Fortnite deserved my money. I didn't think Epic Games deserved my money, other than that one time for minuscule amounts of money.
Yeah, because I mean, you got the game originally for free. Because I
Right.
did the same thing in Fortnite. I bought the Venom skin when I started playing it, but I really have no desire to buy any others. Because I'm
Right.
like, I got a cool skin now.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was. I was like, all right, I got cool skin. I think it looks cool. That's all I need. If I find another one that I think I need, then I'll buy it. But it's like I don't have to have every single one that comes out that week.
But the whales.
It's always about like I think matching that value. Like if I play, I don't buy cosmetics. I will buy anything that gives me like a I'm a big quality of life guy. I will spend money on stuff that makes my life easier because I don't like repetitive action. I will not play a game that is pay to win. So if there's any kind of like boosting or like a luck based system that you can buy these charges that increase your luck to get a better nope, I will not play those
Doesn't
games.
Diablo have
at
an
all.
XP boost?
No, I don't think so. They have their premium battle pass gets you through the battle pass faster, but I don't think the battle pass. I actually don't even know what the battle pass unlocks, to be honest. Man, I totally stopped playing before season 1. I need to go back. I heard the new season's actually going to be kind of fun. People are really excited about it, so we'll see. But as far like I don't think I'm going to buy any unless they have a drop of fire trailer. Like,
Yeah.
this is
And you're
the
sold.
second
This is the
greatest.
greatest trailer I have
Did you
ever
listen
seen.
to that episode when we talked about that? I had no idea what. I never
He
played
never
a Diablo
played
game.
Diablo. He
And
had
I
no
saw
clue
their
what it was.
cinematic trailer, which usually those things go right over my. I don't care about the cinema. I watched this setting and I was like, this fucking game is incredible. This looks like so cool. It's like this super fantasy, like devil dark. And I was like, this looks like a fun game. And then it was like Diablo 4. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've heard of the Diablo series. And then I got really hyped for it for whatever reason on a cinematic trailer.
Yeah.
That is so foreign to me, but it worked, man. Marketing.
It got you.
It did.
And it was a fun game. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
It was.
I put 250
Was.
hours into it.
It was. Not anymore. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't. I had actually nothing against the game. It's just not really my thing. So once I beat it, I was kind of like,
you did the story.
yeah.
I'm not about the
Build
endless
diversity.
grind that like some people love. I get tired of it.
Well, so what's interesting to me is you played it to the story. You beat the story basically with Kyle, and you both stopped playing pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, that was when the game got good. Because that's when you finally had enough points to really start speccing into different creative builds, and you had enough items, and you
That
could
didn't
jump world
intrigue
tiers.
me.
Well, I
So like so I know Kyle doesn't like that stuff generally because he's like starter weapon good enough. I'll figure this shit out.
I'll bring you with me to the end.
But like for you, like that doesn't the build diversity kind of like
No.
really figuring out what works.
I agree. I did enjoy. I was really looking forward to the Baragon board, but the part that killed it for me was the loot grind. Like hearing that I need this specific armor and it only has like a 2% chance to drop. I'm like, and then trying to get it, and it got the loop was what killed it for me. The loot loop versus I was excited about the build diversity and kind of doing that, but it was just I needed this specific set of armor and I didn't have it and I couldn't get it.
Well, so that's if you're like So I understand that because like if you're trying to follow a guide to a T and it says, hey, this is the optimal, and you're trying to achieve that, that can be very tedious because then you kind of just block out everything that you're getting along the way. But the way I think it's supposed to be played, like as an ARPG, is you basically kind of fall in love with the loot that you're given as you progress. So like maybe it's not the most optimal piece, and like there's what do they call those, like ultra rare
Well-
drops, like the uber Uber Lilith style drops that like you're basically never going to be able to get, and so don't expect it. But that is like best in slot gear. But like part of the journey for me that was so much fun was after I do a dungeon or after I do whatever, like some open world content, I would go back and I would look at all the golds that I got or the ancient armor. What did they call it? It was like ancient and then legend. What was the third tier? I don't even remember.
know.
Legendary or something like that. But you would look at that gear and go, oh, this has a better stat, but it's worse than this. But because I have that now, I can change this spec on my thing. So like I can now have a higher channeling magic. So now I can, I can take this piece of equipment off and slot this in because I don't need that much crit damage because I get the crit damage from this item. So like you're getting the loot and you're kind of constantly adjusting this algorithm. Like, okay, because I did that dungeon, I'm now 1% better. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna 1% better. You're constantly playing that game of like using the loot.
That does sound
I've-
like hell.
But see,
Diablo.
I do think, yeah.
That's so much fun for me.
I think it's fun, but I don't think it's attuned to me because I personally would have liked something with like higher loot drop rates. I felt like when I reached the end and I was trying to level up and trying to finally open up my build, all the loot I was getting was at such a small improvement that it didn't feel worth it to me. And then versus like, for example, the only other game I played that like deeply, Destiny, right? Destiny, it was easy to find exotics. Not easy, but like you had a guaranteed way of the stranger. And then the exotics were huge gameplay shifting weapons or armor. Like it was drastic changes and it wasn't as hard
I
to
would agree
get
with that.
them as it is in Diablo. And
Yeah.
so I
Well-
guess the distance between me getting that epic loot was too long in Diablo versus Destiny. I felt like had a better. I didn't feel like I was smashing my head against a wall without getting something good.
Well, you never got to World Tier 3, did you? So like
I went to it with you. You had to be there with me, and then you leave and finish the dungeon as me and Kyle.
no,
were.
World. Remember, so I think we beat the campaign on World Tier 2,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
World Tier 3 you had to do that like unique dungeon.
Yeah,
You
we would
did.
go.
You-
Yeah,
We
I
did that
helped
with you.
Okay.
I mean, helped. He speed ran it.
yeah.
And then he's like,
It's all about
all right,
actions
guys,
per
you
minute.
got to keep up with me. And Dylan and I are fighting the first horde. Billy just blows past them. And he's like, final boss? They're at 25%.
We're like, okay.
And I'm like a mile away from where you are right now, but all right. And you get that little XP ring. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, well, I guess he beat the boss.
Did you? But when you got to World Tier 3, did you do any? Like, did you pretty much stop then?
I
because-
tried dungeons, but I felt like the loot I was getting was
Man, because when you
such
go into
incremental. It was just numbers versus I wanted play style changing. loot.
oh,
That's the loot I like. Like Destiny, like exotic, you get one and it's like it
totally change.
it
It's
makes you
build
jump
defining.
more.
It's
It makes
building
you- yeah.
defining. It's build defining.
versus I felt like
1% crit.
it was a
chance.
lot longer until I got to that point in Diablo, and I was like, I've already beat the game. The only incentive for me is to get there, and that's way far off.
I see.
I wanted romance options, and I wanted to be able to rotate my camera. Those are the two things I wanted. No, I'm just
Did
kidding.
not have that.
Romance options is a joke, but honestly, not being able to rotate the camera, I know that's like so stupid and that's like staple of that type of game, but I hate a fixed camera in a game. It just really bugs me.
I thought I would
can't
hate
get-
it more than I
Yeah.
did, but once I got locked into the gameplay loop, it didn't even register.
I want to be able to see all aspects
Yeah.
of something, and I hate that I can only see things from one angle.
Yeah.
I
It's like-
would agree that the camera was frustrating for me because I felt like it was too zoomed in. I feel like it needed to be a little too zoomed in. Like I wanted to be zoomed out so I could see more of the map.
You
know what I
wanted
mean?
your character.
So I
like
wanted to be a
this
little
big.
bit small. I needed more field of view. I felt like they did that for like performance issues because maybe it wasn't optimized at launch. But I would love like a slider to be able to increase that just so I could see a little bit more of my screen. Did you play Diablo 4 at all?
No.
Have you ever played an ARPG?
No, I don't think so.
Like Path of Exile or
I play. Okay, yeah. I played a little bit of Path of Exile because like there was like the new like patch or whatever they did, and I played that for a little bit because my brother tried to get me into. He's like, "Oh, dude, you gotta play this game. Game's great." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll try it. I'm down for anything."
Takes the most dedication of like any game
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah,
You
he's
gotta
like-
play this.
Yeah, he's like, "Dude, this is great." I played it for like, I'd have to go look, but I think I only have like 5 hours in that game, and I was like, I just don't know what I'm doing. And like he wouldn't help me either. I'd be like, dude, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, well, figure it out. And I'm like, well, that's not very helpful, man. It's like I can't play with you if you're not gonna help me. It's like
you don't walk lightly into Path of Exile.
yeah. I'm sitting there. I'm like, this is a very hardcore game from like because I was watching people play it before I played it. And I was like, I'm definitely not gonna like this game. But he's like, oh, dude, you gotta play it with us. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I just don't understand the game. I'm like, I don't
The
know what I'm
studio
doing.
is called Grinding Gears.
Yeah,
like
I just don't know what I'm doing.
Well, like I've seen speed runs of that game where like people are like changing talents and trees like as they are like fighting.
We're gonna
boss
respec
for
and we're gonna
different
change.
phases. There. It is like they're micromanaging like 50,000 actions a minute, and it's insane. You're like, this is another level. It is crazy, but
I'm surprised
that's a
you
game
never
that's
got
insane.
into it.
It's because it's old. So I didn't know about it. If Path of Exile 2 drops, I probably will get way too into it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's sort of like a seamless world, like it's progression. So they should share resources, I think. So that might be interesting, like in terms of like I think your loot might apply from 1 to 2. I don't know if they've kind of walked that back or what really that means, but it sounds like they're trying to. It's not gonna be like a new game that kind of exists in its own realm, and it's like totally separate. I think there are like kind of like a spider web for Path of Exile. Okay. So Path of Exile 1 and 2. 2's coming out in a few years. I think there are spider webs that like link the two worlds, but it is. I probably will get really into it. I have never really played an ARPG before Diablo 4, and I'm like, this is exactly the game that I would love. This is perfect. So I totally want to get into that. There was like a indie one that came out early, like Halls of Torment, that got like popped off for a few minutes. It's only like $4. You should check that one out.
Isn't Guild Wars an ARPG?
No, it's an MMORPG.
Yeah.
But it has the same playstyle as an ARPG?
Not really.
No, not really.
Because you have like skills and cooldowns, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Also, though, ARPGs are a lot more mob focused too, and God, there's so much
It's
nuance.
so much
between,
nuance, right? Like
between RPG. To,
I'm like gonna try and define it, but then I'm like, that doesn't really have to. Like, I would say that mobs are in general in ARPG like weak, to where like 1 or 2 hits you could just kind of blast through hundreds of enemies. Versus like Guild Wars is much more of like you're threatened by the world. Like you can die, and there's consequences to dying, but that also doesn't apply like that to everything. So I don't know. It is very much so action driven, where you are like doing something, and then there's a responsive reaction. But yeah, no, it is. They are very different games. But I also heard this. I was watching this video like that was like 12 years old, or not 12. It was probably like 6 years old, 3 years old, or something. And it was talking about Guild Wars 2's or Guild Wars 1's combat system, and it equated it to. They talked about it being based on Magic the Gathering and stuff, and they equated it to being very similar to Destiny, or not Destiny. What the fuck, Divinity: Original Sin. And I was like, because of all the skill interactions, but it totally does not play like that game. But like the combat is detailed like that. And I was
game is?
Guild Wars 1,
Oh,
which I thought was a very weird comparison, but it came from a guy who is like the content creator for Guild Wars, like the series, and it was just kind of mind blowing.
expert opinion then.
I was like, all right, I'll trust that opinion. I mean, but it was like weird to hear him compare it to that. But
According to the forums on Blizzard, ARPGs are known as a genre that is single player with online aspects, whereas MMORPGs are a genre where online aspects and multiplayer activities are not only the norm but forced.
So then I would 100% classify Guild Wars 1 as not an MMO and as an ARPG. Because all the combat zones are instant space and you're by yourself. Unless you have a party with you.
Interesting.
But it is not an open world, which I fucking love about Guild Wars 1 and hated about Guild Wars 2. Because it's balanced for your group. Right? So like the combat is real and difficult. Versus Guild Wars 2, it's like you're never really threatened by anything. You just go and like respawn at like a waypoint close by, because how do you balance like an open world game where if you have 100 guys running with you or one guy with you, it's kind of like impossible. Right. So like there was real risk in running around.
We could have a whole episode where we actually really dive in onto
these genres:
ARPG, MMORPG, CRPG, more classic RPGs like Elden Ring, JRPG. Like it's the genre that has the most subgenres. It's insane.
It's almost meaningless at this point.
Like I said it before, like the fact that Baldur's Gate and Elden Ring are both considered RPGs, but are so furthest apart as you can be from each other, it's insane. Like other genres, I'm literally quoting myself the exact same thing I said last week, but other genres you don't run into that. Like Halo and Call of Duty are very different games, but at its core they're shooters.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to define them as shooters. But you just don't see that in other genres. Like
Billy, did you want to gloat about some achievement
you
achieved?
I could. So I achieved a lifelong childhood dream.
20 years in the making.
20 years almost in the making of achieving God walking amongst mere mortals in Guild Wars 1, which is a title that takes, if you were to start a raw account, people online say it's like 400 or 500 hours. That's if you know exactly what the fuck you're doing and bum rushing it and only doing that to achieve it, sure. But if you realistically, it's an achievement that takes, and I'm going to say, this is not an exaggeration, like 1,500 to 2,000 hours to successfully achieve. And I fucking did it. And I did it on my main character. I mean, my account has much more playing time than that, because just to do some of the titles, you have to accumulate a certain amount of wealth. So that's difficult in and of itself. But I finally did it. And I got this achievement, and it felt so fucking good, guys. I never thought I would go back to this game and play it. And I don't know what it is, if this Steam sale has been so successful, but a lot of my old friends have come back to the game. We've been playing the game, that we've been jumping on, trading some of our old items to each other, helping each other out, doing some of the old content, and it's like we're locked in and having so much fun. My wife's been playing it. She's been having a lot of fun. We beat the first game. We're about a little bit through the second game right now. There's 4 total. I feel like a kid again. I'm having so much fun. The combat doesn't feel dated. I love everything about it. I'm having a blast. It's definitely dated in terms of graphics, sure. It's definitely dated in terms of like server latency. Like you don't get the best ping, and so it sometimes gets a little rubber bandy and stuff like that. But honestly, I have not really experienced any issues with it. The game does feel alive. There's hundreds of people playing it at any given time, like probably even thousands, to be honest. The yearly event's going to happen here soon, where they do the Chinese New Year. They do a Chinese New Year event for like 3 weeks or something like that, and it transforms the whole world. Like they do like a whole Winter's Day thing everything was Christmas themed. It's like such a cool, fun, interactive world. And your loot drops changes, like you'll be killing stuff in the world, like birthday or like cupcakes will drop, or candy canes will drop, and they do different things, like give you sugar rushes and stuff like that. Yeah. But I completed my Guam, and then I went on and completed even a more nutty thing, which you can only get if you have Guam, which is like 50 out of 50 Hall of Monuments, which Something Cool Gaming will know a lot about this. I got 50 out of 50 on that, but that was because I had... That's less so a character achievement and much more an account achievement. So it's much more representative, like what you've done in the game. And because I got my Guam, I was able to finish that, which was fucking cool. And that title bleeds into Guild Wars 2, so you get like rewards in Guild Wars 2 too. So
Nice.
that's kind of cool. But yeah, man, I did it.
Nice.
It took me probably after coming back. It took me probably 300 hours since coming back. Early last year, maybe even a little further back than that. Probably 300 hours since then to do all the final stuff that I needed. And man, I'm having the time of my life. So much fun. I'm not stopping. I'm already coming up with like new challenges that I want to do, stuff that I want to come up with and try. Like I've got a whole guild of dudes that I played with in Guild Wars 2 that are like not going to grind the game hardcore or anything like that, but like that are like coming up with cool challenge runs that they want to try out and do, and it's fun, man.
So what would you say your guys' games are that you go back to, like Billy?
I don't go back to any game like that. I mean, I go back to games, but I don't. Over how many hours do you have in Guild Wars?
True.
Between both titles, north of 8,000.
I don't have a single game that I played that much. So
1,000 hours?
yeah,
Which I would wager is still less than all the games that you've ever played if you total all your titles.
Probably.
Yeah.
But that's still
maybe, but I not an all one game though. That's
Oh,
the
no.
thing.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
so, like I mean, I've put a lot of hours into. The only game that I go back to, that I guess would be like niche now to play would be Knights of the Old Republic. It's a very dated kind of game now, but I play that game probably at least once a year. I play it through beginning to end. But if you total up all the hours I put into that, it's not even close.
It's not even dropped
Not
in the
even
bucket
close.
compared to 8,000.
I mean, I probably in total maybe have 500 hours in that game.
Yeah, but how many times do we talk about like, have you ever played this game? And I've never played it. It's
It's
because
true.
I've over these
Yeah,
years
played
I've
the
really
one.
only played Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. Like it's really that's it. Like you guys are playing, 50 hours here, 60 hours there, 20 hours there. Me, one game only. And
I have
Yeah.
8,000 hours in Super Mario Sunshine.
what's that party game that like you go?
Mario Party.
Mario Party?
At 8,000 hours in
I
Mario
have
Party?
8,000
That's great.
I have 8,000 hours in Pet Simulator on the DS.
Nintendogs?
Nintendogs, yeah.
I've had multiple litters.
Extreme Bacon says that sounds like an addiction. It is more than addiction. It's love.
It's.
It's a
That's
lifestyle.
what it is.
I mean, is it reciprocated?
Yes,
Yeah.
Did you get anything
I do not
special
regret.
for your...
I don't regret a single minute that I played in that game. I've met some incredible people. It's taught me a lot. It made me fall in love with computers. It's why I do what I do. It's why I have the relationship with this guy because I grew up with his brother playing video games for
Not the fact that he's
long
family.
times. I got a lot of family that I don't really talk to. So, well, I mean, not really, but I got a lot of family that I don't talk to as much as him, and it's defined who I am. So like I said, like, yeah, it's like a lot of hours, but imagine if you added up total playtime like on your PlayStation 4 or your PlayStation 5 or, that number would be crazy and it'd probably be online, and not all those hours are like some of that shit I was doing AFK stuff. So, I mean, it's not like I'm sitting there for all 8,000, but it's, a decent amount of
Grinding
playtime.
something while watching YouTube.
Yeah, is
Click.
doing shmush or studying, getting my college bachelor's degree, playing at, whatever time. But yeah.
All right.
It's a love.
Weird flex. He can get his degree while playing video games the whole time.
Okay.
Not to brag or anything. but-
Humble brag.
I don't know what that is.
That's the Swiss heart.
Is that like you need help?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know how to
Health.
interpret that.
you,
I think that means you have a problem.
Go work out.
you should
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah,
You should see a therapist.
Do you eat Cheerios?
High blood. That definitely looks like the Cheerios.
You know what's funny is you're the most well-adjusted, quote-unquote, gamer nerd I've ever met. And as far as, like, you break all the stereotypes because you have as many hours as any extreme gamer as you could have. But you're also the most outgoing, charismatic person I
Yeah,
might
for
know,
sure.
which is, like, the exact opposite of what the stereotype is. You know, the
most
troll.
Most people who have 8,000 hours in a game are not as like talk.
They don't
just,
talk
like,
to
yeah,
people?
Yeah, yeah.
They don't.
They dwell in their house. That's what people's 8,000 hours in a video game do.
Well, I think I couldn't do this in a game like Knights of the Old Republic or like Mass Effect. I couldn't do. And there's
there-
people who like will grind it to. I bet you there's speedrunners that have like 8,000 hours in Mass Effect or something, trying to eke out. I
Yeah.
can't do that. I was drawn to Guild Wars because of the gameplay, but the social element kept me there.
True, and there's games like Mass Effect and the Knights of the Republic and single player focused games. There's not enough content to do that. You can't
Yeah.
just do that over and over and over for 8,000 hours. Versus, I mean, if you were doing it, using it as a hangout session, to talk to friends, that's different. And there's just MMOs are designed to be played like that. They're constantly pumping out new content. They're constantly figuring out like things to do for the community. So if you had 8,000 hours in a game like Knights of the Old Republic or any single player game for that matter, there's like a real like thing going on with your brain that you're like, let me like no social aspect to it at all. You're just playing by yourself for 8,000 hours.
What's your most played?
I think the only game that I come back to a bunch, like that's actually like story kind of wise, is like Far Cry 5. Like that's my favorite game ever. I only have like 130 hours in the game. Just I've only played like ever replayed it again. But that's a game I always like think about.
Is Far Cry 5 Voss or is that
No,
4
that's
is
3.
Voss? No,
That's
3.
3 is Voss.
That's-
5 is the
That's all the religious cult members.
yeah in the
Oh, okay.
U.S.
In
like
America, yeah.
America,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. That's
Which
a good
has
one.
nothing to do with why I like it. It's just the most like relatable. Like the one like story that you can see like happening. Like cult
Yeah.
members taking over the world. Like you can see that happening.
4 is the one with that weird dude in the Himalayas.
Yeah.
3 is Voss.
3 is Voss.
First one I played was 2. That one was actually really good.
That wanted to have
Yeah.
like
Huh? Yeah.
like a
I
character
played
for
5.
I'm not any like memorable.
right
people the
not
way
someone
that-
like, oh man
Like
I
the
remember
villain
that.
from Far Cry 2 was the best.
Right.
Especially Far Cry, you could say a lot of things about that series, but they have very memorable good villains.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Especially after 3. Although, I do have to say even though I really enjoyed Primal, I don't remember anything about the villains.
Because that was the BC like
Yeah, it was like
10,000 years ago or whatever.
and that was
Right.
cool. I enjoyed doing that, but I don't remember anything.
It's also just like a filler game.
Yeah.
Just like they came out with like Far Cry New Dawn.
Oh,
to, like,
Blood Dragon.
fill- Yeah, Blood Dragon.
Blood
2,
Dragon, yeah,
New-
it was like the
New
80s
Dawn.
action hero.
Yeah, like New Dawn to like fill in the gap between 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And also give you a finishing story to 5 because they didn't finish it for you. Like they're just like, oh, what happened after here? And it's like, that's it.
Extreme Bacon fixed his heart.
Yeah, and says, "There's your heart."
Thank you.
yeah,
There it is.
I would say the game for me that I go back to the most is probably Fallout New Vegas. I really enjoy that game. Yeah,
that's a good one.
and I turn on Wacky Wasteland, and I don't know. I just can go back and I guarantee I choose the same choices
The truth
over
is,
and over.
it was rigged from the start.
But I just like that game. It's got Matthew Perry in it.
Yep, rest in peace.
Yep.
He did not do a good job voice acting in that game, but you know what? It's there. It's a part of history. Fallout New Vegas was
2010.
Obsidian,
Yeah.
and
That's what I was looking at.
yeah, they actually it wasn't Bethesda. They did it under Bethesda's banner, but it was Obsidian that did it, and
The Outer Worlds, very good.
they did the Outer Worlds, which is one of my favorite kind of indie RPGs.
Next, they're doing Avowed, which is supposed to be like Elder Scrolls.
It doesn't look that. Okay, I'm gonna reserve judgment, but it looks kind of like a mashup of Fallout and Elder Scrolls, like with the humor and stuff, and it feels kind of off. Like I don't know if that works in a fantasy world environment, so I'll wait to see because I do like Obsidian
See,
a lot.
That's how I felt about Outer Worlds. Is
You
like
didn't like that it had a Fallout vibe to it?
it felt almost too far. Like if Fallout is like a 6 on the dial,
Yeah.
Outer Worlds felt like an 8.
I really liked Outer Worlds. I agree with you, but for some reason that worked for me in that environment. But that doesn't work for me in a high fantasy environment. if that makes sense. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just being, I don't know.
No, that makes sense. I mean, that's why it didn't. Outer Worlds, it didn't really work for me. It's just because that environment I wanted. Or I guess it was just expectation.
You wanted,
what I
like,
was looking for.
You like your sci-fi a little more serious,
Yeah, I like it. Mass
Mass
Effect.
Effect. Like, I guess that makes sense.
Could you imagine if Cyberpunk was like as silly as?
Like Fallout.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't flow.
Yeah,
that
it would
vibe
definitely
just
lose.
doesn't
No.
fit.
Characteristic for sure.
Yeah.
Did you play Cyberpunk?
No, I never played it. I was going to play
Now's
it,
the
and then
perfect
it, like,
time.
It's
I
fixed
get-
now
yeah,
after 2
yeah.
years. So,
Yeah, so yeah, it's
now's
still
the
not
time to
perfect
play it.
pick
Yeah.
up, yeah. I was gonna pick it up when it first came out, and then it kind of like flopped, and I was like, good thing I didn't buy that, because like my brother and like people he played with bought it, and all, and they're like, oh, this game's trash, and I'm like, yeah, I saved it myself on.
You know what's funny is I've been like the biggest like apologist for Cyberpunk like on this podcast for like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I always maintained I was like, but I was fair at the start, but because I was so vocal about how much I loved it that they
Right.
forgot about that, and we went back and listened to the old episode, the very first review.
Yeah.
And Dylan was actually way more sympathetic towards it than I was. I was very critical.
Really?
I
Dylan
was.
gave it a 9 out of 10 at launch.
Jesus.
You know, I enjoy
That's probably
it.
the highest rating it got
Yeah.
for launch.
KD
ever by
ratio.
anyone.
And we're the only ones that matter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
But I don't know. The game I've actually, believe it or not, it's not my favorite game of all time, but the game I think I have the most hours in. No, I mean I have a lot of hours in Cyberpunk, but Dark Souls 2.
Wow. You know what? You got into speedrunning.
I got in speedrunning, and I did that like for months. I would beat it probably once a day.
Yeah.
And
See, speedrunning is like
Yeah.
there's no difference in content, but in terms of time played, you have to put in
Yeah.
hours.
The best I got, I did a glitchless speed run. My record was like 3 hours, and I would do that at least once a day. And at first it was like 10 hours a day, and then I'd like really like got good at it. And then I did that for like a couple years, like straight. And then I just one day just stopped playing. So I definitely have like probably over 1,000 hours in Dark Souls 2.
Whoa.
But and it's funny because that's not even my favorite game.
Yeah.
That's just the one I
Clicked
went back
into.
to and played a lot. And
Dove into.
I could probably play it now, and I could probably still get like a sub 5 if I played it.
You think so?
I think
huh?
so. Yeah, I really do.
That'd be a fun little. We should get together
Well,
and do that. That would be fun.
yeah.
Is it on like the newer consoles, or
No.
do you have access to it?
I think Scholar: The First Sin you could play on the newer console, but it's like a PS4 version. But
Would you play it on PS3 or 4?
when I was
We played on
speedrunning, I was
3.
playing on PlayStation 3.
No, I
Yeah.
think you can play it on PS5.
But you can,
Oh, you can.
yeah,
you
you
can buy
can,
it.
but it's not they don't have a PS5 version.
It's
is
not
what
a
I'm saying.
remake. It's not.
Oh, okay.
It's just-
so you just have to rebuy it. So
Yeah.
add it to the list of things to rebuy.
No, I bought it already. Because if you have it on PS4, you can download on PS5.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Games.
Yeah, go ahead.
Games like Outer World are a great break from the bigger favorite games. Is what Extreme Bacon said.
What is? I'm not familiar with
Outer Worlds is a
Is it like an exploration
It's-
kind of thing?
it's a space-faring sci-fi RPG in the vein of like Fallout. It feels like Fallout,
And
but it's indie, so it's actually not that big of a game, to be honest.
The
Is that the game where
world-
you land and then you like try to set up a base and operations?
No.
Oh no.
the game, like the story itself or the vibe of the world, even though I would say it's more silly than this. I would say it's close to Firefly. Like
Whoa.
the
Whole
general-
thing is
Space.
the very
cowboy.
beginning. The captain dies because your escape pod lands on him, and you like
Yeah.
Shitty way to die.
Yeah, and then you go to his ship, and then you have to the whole first part you have to like repair the ship, and it's called the Unreliable, and then it's called the Reliable, but then they like spray paint the Un in front of the Reliable, and you end up becoming the captain of the Unreliable, and you build this crew, and you basically take on the bad guys, and all because you're just this unwitting person that ended up being the captain of this. So it does feel a lot like a more silly, fun version of Firefly in a way.
Mhm.
That's kind of neat.
You might actually, you might have some enjoyment out of it. It's not a huge commitment. The game isn't that expensive anymore. You could probably beat it if you're like mainlining the story. You can beat it pretty quick, actually, like maybe 15 hours.
Wow.
You can get a lot more hours out of that if you're like a completionist, but the main story itself, really not that long. I remember being like, oh wow, I'm already at the end.
Well, and you can beat it like right off the bat there's a certain way you can.
So there is one way you could beat it really quickly if you're very dumb, because it's an RPG, so you got to spec into all these things. And if you're like really unintelligent, then you can't pass an intelligence check that's really basic, like halfway through the game. And if you mess that up, you launch into the sun and you die in the credits roll. It ends.
That's what
That would be the most unsatisfying.
And that's
finish.
how speedrunners beat the game. They have a really dumb character and they get to that part and they just...
But that's what Obsidian does really good. Like with Fallout New Vegas, their amount of customization and allowing you to like your character to be how you build them and actually act like it is amazing. Like in Fallout New Vegas, even you could have a dumb character, and you could be dumb. Like you say dumb stuff to characters.
The dialogue actually changes.
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
like
not smart
me speak few word or stuff like that. It's fun because it allows you to
Who
actually
gave this guy a gun?
yeah. Versus like you look at Bethesda's Fallout and it's more like no, even if you have zero intelligence, you still can talk to people.
You know what's funny is The Outer Worlds is also like Cyberpunk is a very anti-corpo.
Yeah.
Like that's what the game is about basically, is you take on the corporations that are dominating the Halcyon cluster. And yeah, so it's kind of funny, but it's totally not the same tone as Cyberpunk at all. But it's a very there's even characters like their corporate ranks. So some of the characters you have to fight is like corporate commando, corporate general or whatever. And you got to shoot them and take them out.
So to bring it back to Avowed, Kyle, did you
Yeah.
play and did you enjoy Fable?
I did play Fable. I played the second one. I did play the first one, but not enough to really have a good opinion on it. But I put a lot of hours into the second Fable. The third Fable I didn't really like too much. It wasn't as good to me.
But like, did you enjoy that type
Not
of
as-
fantasy?
I did in some regards, but it never on the level that I enjoyed, like
Oblivion or
even games like Skyrim, like
Because I wonder if it's going to be closer to that. Avowed is going to be closer to like Fable, where it's like it's kind of a storybook.
Well, what threw
Fantasy.
me off is because it takes place in the same universe as their Pillars of Eternity game.
Oh,
And Pillars of Eternity is like a very kind of serious,
is it like Baldur's
high
Gate?
fantasy. Yeah, it's similar to like a game like Baldur's Gate. And so when they translated it into this type of setting, it felt almost out of place. I don't know. That's just me. But I think if you look, I think the consensus is kind of where I'm at. If you look at like the community reaction to it.
Because they just released
So-
like a new thing. I've been seeing some stuff. I haven't watched. It was like a new trailer or a developer diary or something like that recently.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing a lot of feedback from that.
I mean, I'll always support Obsidian. I really like Obsidian.
Mm-hmm.
They also did the South Park RPG,
So good.
the Fractured Butthole. No, not they didn't do Fractured Butthole.
Stick of Truth.
That was Ubisoft that did that one, but they
That
did
sounds like a Souls thing so bad.
they did the
Right.
Stick of Truth.
Wish I had a giant butthole.
The Stick of Truth was actually a really good RPG, and I remember I bought it on a whim. I played it, and I was like, "This is actually really good." And then I told Dylan about it at work, and I was like, "You got to try this." And then Dylan came back, and he's like, "It was actually really good," and like he beat it in like a couple days.
Yeah.
But like,
And I mean, Fractured Butthole is only so good because it's basically Stick of Truth continued.
yeah. So like the Stick of Truth it's kind of parodying high fantasy Dungeons and Dragons, and then the Fractured Butthole is parodying like Avengers and like superhero movies. And the whole like there's so many quotable, memorable things from those games. One of my favorite boss fights was from the Fractured Butthole, and you have to fight this like giant like
Eldritch Horror?
no
Or the stripper.
I'm talking about her name is like Boutacious Boutte or something like
Yeah.
that, and she's like this giant like stripper that's like chasing you down, and you have to escape, and you fight her, and you constantly have to move, And if you're not moving correctly, like she'll like kill you
sitting on you.
by sitting on you. Spontaneous
That's what I snooze
Butte is her name, yeah. And it's like so over the top, so extreme, but actually some of like the best turn-based strategy RPG elements I've ever played in a game. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like it's
That's
wild.
wild, man.
You honestly, I recommend anyone to just give those games a shot.
And the humor in it is so funny. Just playing the game, you're constantly laughing.
Like on the second one, because they're all superheroes. The one kid, the diabetic one, he like gets super strength from like going into a diabetic rage. So like he'll give himself like, I don't know, like
Orange juice.
like yeah, like he'll drink like something really sugary, and then he like goes into a rage and he can like punch through walls.
It's
and
like the
stuff.
Hulk.
And then there's literally a part
Does
of the
he have
game where
crash?
he
Is he
dies.
Because he doesn't. No shit.
Yeah, and he sacrifices himself. It's all heroic, but he like it just has a diabetic like coma and like dies.
What could have been?
And it, oh man, it's good.
That just
Yeah.
seems like a fun game.
It's really fun, and they're cheap now. You can buy both of them together in bundles for like $20 maybe.
And the way the graphics are, it looks like the show, so it's not.
It doesn't need to look pretty,
No,
like because it looks like South Park.
Wow.
you're the new kid.
It's wild.
Well, we've been ripping here for close to 2 hours, well over an hour and a half. So, Dylan, where can people find us?
They can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, any major podcast listening platform you listen to, as well as on YouTube. We stream every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Come join us. Watch
Yeah.
the stream, comment,
Hit that bell notification so you know when we're going
hit
live.
subscribe,
Smash that like button.
smash it.
Does that age us? When we say smash that like, do YouTubers even say that anymore?
Yes.
Do they?
Did you say ageist?
No, does that age us?
Oh, I was like, is it ageist? I was like,
Because old people can't smash.
I was like,
They can't
I was like,
smash
that's
like
a
they
really
can't do
weird
it.
take, but maybe it ages us for sure. Yeah, but everybody knows.
Smash that.
You
like
know,
button.
if you know, you know. If you know, you know.
No, you know.
Well, shout out to our guests. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
That was fun, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.